Something all of us are getting our feet wet in, and that is having virtual contests. This spring, all contests in the area, division, and district level will be held virtually. Do you know the intricacies of virtual contests? Tom Kasha will go over everything you need to know. A Toastmaster for over 20 years, past district governor, Tom Kasha has earned 3 DTMs and has been recognized as District 8's Toastmaster of the Year. In addition, he has served in 10 of the 16 committee chair roles in the district. Please join me in welcoming Tom Kasha.
Thank you, Kevin. I will bring up my contest in a virtual world. So this is first we need to do is the prep work. So the district will provide Zoom registration links for areas and divisions. So everybody will be able to get a link to sign up, and they will receive their individual link to register for Zoom for the meeting, just like they did for this contest or this training today. One of the things we can also ask questions for is we'll ask them about what their club and maybe their club number is, so they you know in advance, you know, what clubs are being represented at that are registered if you're looking for people like judges. So we will provide that. The next thing that's important is that you recruit an experienced Zoom master or Zoom masters, depending on the size of your contest. And actually, and I'll go over it later, but I'll show you the resources link. But in the virtual meetings resources, there's actually a list of District 8 Zoom masters that you can recruit from. And if anyone says, hey, I want to be on that list, let me know, and we'll be happy to add other people to be on that list. In fact, I think there's going to be a training for those people that be interested in that, and we can mention that later. The next thing is to recruit functionaries who are comfortable on Zoom. And that's important. If people don't like or struggle, or, you know, I wouldn't use them if they're not comfortable, because if they struggle with it, that could be a headache for everybody. So make sure that they have Zoom comfort. And one of the other things that's really important at the this kind of level when you're doing virtual meetings is that once you recruit all your functionaries, you should make sure that everybody knows their email and cell phone number, because many times there's communication that's going on between, for instance, the ballot counters or the timers, and they need to be able to find out, you know, how to reach these people. A big way to reach people during contests a lot of times is just using your texting people with cell phones. That can come in really handy, because sometimes you can't do things on chat. Other prep work. Depending on everyone's comfort level, you may consider having a dress rehearsal Zoom briefing 1 to 2 days out. Get everybody on board so they can ask more questions. If people have done it a few times and they're comfortable, you don't necessarily need it. But I know the first time we did these last spring, these were like our very first virtual meetings, because we wanted to get it right. We had a Zoom, a brief rehearsal 2 days prior for each of them. Another thing that's good to do is create a virtual program, and that we can post this on the DA website, or we can share that also that you could share in chat. If you send it to me as the webmaster, I will make sure it gets posted on the District 8 website. The other thing is that all the paperwork should be collected prior to the contest. And hopefully in this way where we can do everything digitally, that shouldn't be that big of a deal. Everyone should be comfortable being able to print a document, sign it, and send it back. And you don't have to have any big fancy scanner. I mean, for that matter, you could just use your phone and send it as a photo. But just get the paperwork in and make sure they get it out in advance. Day of the contest. Make sure the Zoom doors open at least an hour out to give time for people to get in and maybe socialize a little bit. One of the things when people first get in, we will make sure that their video and audio would automatically be turned off. One of the things you want to do is just maybe make it so that they can speak if they want to, but leave the audio on, because sometimes people can have background noises that can impact things. Another thing is that with video, if you have 50 or 60 or 70 cameras that come on, sometimes that may impact the quality of what's being broadcast. And so we will limit who has their video on, and we'll go over that later, but you don't want everyone's video on at that point. So at this point, when you first join, chat can be turned on, but actually should be turned off during the contest, except to allow private conversations with the Zoom master. So the Zoom master can set it up so that they're the only ones that can receive any questions or anything that comes up. Now I'm going to talk about naming conventions. Now, to make it easier on the Zoom master to select people, I suggest the following. I'm not sure we've done this before, but I found this out through Dawn, thanks to one of her regional briefings. But the key people, she would put a dot in front of their name. And the advantage of having a dot or a period in front of their name is that when you looked at the participant list, they would be at the top of the list, because the participant list is listed in alpha order, and the people in the dot are pre-A. So what you would do is you put the dot, so they'd be all at the top. And then to help them when it comes time to figure out what goes into what room, depending on their role, you give them an abbreviation. Contest chair, CC. Contest master, CM. Chief judge, CJ. Timer, T. And you notice after that, they would put their name afterwards. Sergeant at Arms, SA. Ballot counters, BC. And then your contestants would either be Table Topics, TT, or International Speech Contest, IS. Now, if they're in both, which sometimes happens, maybe at one point they would be TT, another point they'd be IS, and then their name. And then for judge, you'd put .judge, but there would be no name since they are anonymous. Sometimes people you could put judge 1, judge 2, judge 3, but sometimes you don't know what your number is. So I would just .judge will be fine. Day of contest, breakout rooms as follows. First, you're going to have one that has the contest master, contestants, and sergeant at arms. And this particular contest, really, you only need one sergeant at arms, and they're going to hang out in the table topics room when that becomes necessary. So that'll be one breakout room. The other breakout room will be the chief judges, which includes your judges, timers, and your ballot counters. So let's talk about your contestant briefings. First, contest master can pull playing cards for contestants to determine speaking order. And this was brought up earlier. They have a deck of cards with the 1, 2, 3, 4. And they'll say, okay, now I'm pulling a card for Barbara. Okay, here's your number. And I'm pulling a card for Dawn. Here's your number. And that's one way you could do speaking order, or you can write up your own cards. But the idea is you have your cards in advance and you pull it for the contestants in this virtual world. Contestants should be aware of their background. Virtual backgrounds can be very tricky. And sometimes if you don't have a green screen to back up your background, some things are like some things could be kind of not that clear. For instance, I'm just going to do this. I'm going to give you an example. I have a green screen in front of me. So I'm going to take away the green screen behind, But then if I go to, I'm sorry, if I go to choose virtual background and I don't have a green screen. Now you see how my kind of goes in and out. That can be kind of distracting, okay? So if I put my green screen back and then I have a green screen, I'm fine once I get my green screen in order. So in some ways, I wouldn't even recommend using a virtual screen unless you have a green screen to make sure it works. All right. And we'll get that going. All right. Contestants should troubleshoot audio and video and make sure lighting is good. Okay. It's so important that the make sure you have the lighting in front of you so that your face is clear. You should not be backlit because that makes it really hard to see. Some colors in virtual world, I mean, I wouldn't use greens because sometimes that can be kind of bad. So make sure you look at your audio and video and the lighting is good. So this is something else. Contestants with weak bandwidth in their house may want to limit who's using their house bandwidth when they're speaking, because if someone's speaking and the streaming video, that may be problematic. So you'll have an idea if you'll see it, because sometimes it'll say on your screen, internet isn't clear or not, not good bandwidth, or internet is fuzzy. I forgot the exact words, but sometimes it'll tell you. And that means maybe either you're weak or somebody else is using the bandwidth in the house, which is making it more difficult. So when speaking, and this is as a courtesy, when the contestant is speaking, the other contestants will have their videos on. And as a courtesy, you should act as a contestant and behave like you would at a regular contest. Because we've had complaints where we had them turned on and all the contestants see is people looking at their screen or preparing for their next, or looking at documents, preparing for the next speech, but they're not paying attention. So it's important that if your video is on, it's one of those people that you're paying attention while the contestants are speaking as a courtesy. Chief judge briefing. Okay, one of the rules that's in the book is that judges should not take into considerations the contestants' audio and video quality. If they're having problems or issues, if it's the quality, that should not be held against them. I know it can impact it, but you should avoid that if possible. Judges should know where to email their rankings to the chief judge and ballot counters, because they will have to notify both of them. For those of you familiar with the Google form, that was one thing I heard the regional advisors. One thing's kind of cool about a Google form. You set it up and it will go to those 4 people. You can set up that Google form, and then actually it shows up in a spreadsheet, and that'll help them when they organize it. So if you have someone that's computer savvy, the Google form may be the better way to go in terms of they don't have to worry about who to email it, because they just, as long as they have the link to the form and they put their top 3 people, they send it and it goes to the people that need to know automatically. Now, the other thing is timers need to determine and test how to show their timing. Why? Because not all computers can support virtual backgrounds as timing cards. Ideally, I think the virtual background timing cards that Toastmaster provides, I think, are a great way to go, but you have to have a computer that can support it. And if it does, I would recommend that. I know some people have shown up little cards with maybe green or yellow or red, but that would be a second best. I would really go with somebody who has a computer that can do the timing cards that TI provides, and that can be found on the virtual resources page. Timers should determine how to communicate with each other during the contest, because they have to settle what the time is. I suggest using text as the best way to do that. And then timers should know where to email the speech times to the chief judge. Moving on, during the contest, the following video can remain on: special guests, contest chair, contest master, contestants, and timers. And again, we want the ideas of kind of a happy medium between, we want them, the speakers to see an audience, but we don't want there that many people that it causes issues maybe with the quality of the recording, or everyone else's video should be turned off. And at this point during the contest, chat should be turned off except to allow private conversations with the Zoom master. Also during the contest, and this applies to table topics only, the table topics contestants and the sergeant at arms should be placed in a breakout room during the time they are waiting to speak. And the sergeant at arms is making sure they're not somehow communicating or doing something that maybe they get the answers, I don't know. But the idea is, yes, the sergeant at arms is there kind of in the same room with them. The table topics contestants should not have the ability to enter the main room themselves. Only the Zoom master should move them when it is their time to speak. And that can be set up. And so then when the final person is brought in, then they can bring in the sergeant at arms. Also during the speeches, the Zoom master should spotlight the speaker. The main room should be locked so no one can enter at that point. It's kind of like how we lock the building or lock the rooms at a library. But that main room can be locked so nobody can join in. And then it can be unlocked after the speech. So the Zoom master should ensure everyone but the speaker is muted with no ability to unmute themselves. In other words, a lot of times they give you the ability to unmute. In this case, you make it so they can't unmute. And that's something an experienced Zoom master would know how to do. It's not that hard. After the speeches, the judges will email their rankings to the chief judge and ballot counters. Note, a Google form could also be used. Next is the tie-breaking judge will email their rankings to the chief judge only. Why? Because the tie-breaking judge should remain anonymous. And then we talked about if the form doesn't look right or something, or the chief judge should get back to the tie-breaking judge to make sure it's right, just in case it is needed. At this point, only one timer will email the time to the chief judge, CCing the second timer, and the chief judge will confirm receipt so they know that they got it. The chief judge should text the Zoom master when all the ballots are received so the contest can proceed to interviews. Okay. The Zoom master will place the chief judge and the ballot counters in a breakout room after the speeches. Now note, this can be done after each contest or at the end of both contests. So that'll be up to you, and that's a decision you should make in advance. After speeches, the judge will email the contest results to the contest master once completed. So the contest master has results and they can relay them. The functionaries will have the ability to go back to the main room when completed. So when the ballot counters are done counting their ballots, they would just go back into the room. After the contest, and this is optional, if necessary, the Zoom master will place the chief judge and the top 3 winners of each contest in a breakout room to collect information. Now, for the most part, you should already have the information, but traditionally, sometimes they get together and make sure everything is set, or maybe it's even a function of telling them when the next contest is and when they can be there. But that can be something that the Zoom master would do right after the contest ends. Virtual resources. the resources tab, you scroll down to virtual meetings, and a link to this video will be posted on the virtual meeting page along with the copy of this document. And if, let's see, if I want to, I'm going to do a new share. Let me see if I find it. I'm going to, we'll go to, okay, go to District 8 Toastmasters, and then under resources, go down to virtual meetings. Then here you can see best practices for online speeches, the list of District 8 Zoom Masters, and then we'll add a video of this, a link to this video, and then also the PowerPoint slides. So that is that. And
Tom?
yes.
I did have one question from Wayne. I believe it's Schonenberg.
Wait, yeah, sure.
Slides are going to be made available.
Yes, I will post these slides and the link to this video on that page. All right. So actually, that is basically the presentation. Do we have any other questions?
I do see some hands are raised. If
do you want them in chat, or do you want us to shout out?
let's start with chat. That way I have a list I can go on. And then depending on time, we'll let whoever still has a question to ask theirs. And it looks like my first question is, do you know when the Zoom Master training is? From Herman Koester.
Herman, that is an excellent question, and I'm going to refer that to Dawn, who's kind of coordinating that. Dawn, take it away. And you're on mute.
Thank you, Herman. When I have a date, I will surely share it. We've been asking everyone to fill out the survey for TLI, and there's a box on there you can check that says I'm interested in Zoom Master training. And that will be a quick way for me to make sure I get the names and email addresses of everyone who's interested. And we will be sure then to contact you when we have the date set up. Right now, we are waiting for our expert in adult education to complete the format for us. And then we're going to do a test run on that training, and then we will open it up to volunteers. But fill out your TLI survey. It's been emailed out a couple of times, and we can email that out again to everyone. And fill in the box that says, yes, I do want that training. Expect it probably at this point, probably more early November than late October.
Do you want to share the address of the survey that was asked?
I will dig that out. In the meantime, I will ask my question, and then while you're answering my question, I'll be looking. How about that?
Sure.
I'm jumping the line on everyone who's typed in. My question is to please talk a little bit about ways to collect signatures on all of this electronic paperwork, like eligibility and originality, and also judges eligibility, all those things that we need to collect a signature on. How will we do that electronically?
So some people have put created a digital version of their signature, and you can put that in the document, and that will be fine. Some people will print the document out and then sign it, take a photo of it, and then do it that way. I mean, those are basically the two ways to do it. Okay.
All right,
Tom,
Tom.
may I add something?
Sure.
A number of these forms, fillable forms that you posted, have a secure signature feature. It's a piece of Adobe. You have to create your own password to do it, but you can fill in, you can put a secure password in there, and there's an option to lock the document when you enter that your password.
I guess sometimes we had issues where people will sign a document, they'll send it, they'll send to other people to sign it, then they can't. So I guess they have to go back to the original one that isn't locked.
Check.
And so if they go to the district website, another plug, they can get that form there.
I'll interject. You can also do a virtual print. But moving on to the next question.
All right.
This one's from Kathy Berry. Can the Zoom master affix the timer at the top of the screen for the speaker?
No, they can't, but the speaker can do it. But see, normally what happens is when, if you put on gallery view, and what'll happen is only the people that have videos will show up. So you have it in gallery view, you'll see the people with videos will be up, and there should be no problem seeing the timer. Does that answer the question?
All right,
Yeah.
I'll move on to the next one. This one's from Lisa Collier. How do you download a green screen on your computer?
So what it is basic, download it. A virtual screen or a green screen?
She asked a green screen.
Okay, so the green screen is something physical that you put behind you. The virtual screens is basically a JPEG, and you can take any JPEG and make that a virtual screen. And when you go to select in Zoom your virtual background, there'll be a plus sign, and when you hit the plus sign, then you can go into your computer files and pull out an appropriate JPEG. Just like everybody earlier today, I posted the new unofficial District 8 Zoom video background. I sent it to them as a JPEG. They added it to their virtual screen library by adding the plus sign. And if they have other questions on that, I can walk them through it.
Let's see here. RJ is saying you can use Chroma Cam. That's an application. Ultimately, it's another virtual camera. Our next question.
So if you have a question, I don't know much about that, but if you have a question about that, I'd check with RJ.
Our next question is from Art. Doesn't the notification of winners form list all contestants?
No.
Yes, I've got that now because I looked in the rule book. Page 12, Article 2, L2. Chief Judge records the ranking of all contestants on the notification of contest winners, which is submitted to the contest chair of the next level.
Oh, and that's just in case some of the top three can't make it and they know what's underneath?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's a new and improved form. And I'm sure you gave it to me to post it on the website, right?
That is one of the ones that you posted.
So we're up to date. So if they have that form, they'll see that.
But even in the old days, the chief judge was supposed to list all contestants of that contest who were not disqualified.
So while we're there, I might as well just, let me see if I can go back to,
Sure.
If you go under contest, so you'll see that eventually you'll see the area and division contest dates, and then there'll be contest scripts and forms. And so you'll have the scripts here, those contest kits if you want to do it that way, and then all the individual contest forms. And then if you see a little thing that says editable, that means you can edit them. You may want to save them to your computer and then download them to your computer, then edit. And then there's also some training, and there's also a nice training when you're the judge, it's the video training by Toastmasters. That's also really good. It covers a lot of the things that Kat covered earlier. But all those forms are on the website, and then also including things like the rule book, and these even things about contestant interview sample questionnaires. And then it even breaks out the briefings, whether it's evaluation, humorous, international tabletop piece. About a year ago, somebody went over and basically updated some of this. So it's all fairly, should be all up to date. And if there's anything not up to date, let me know.
All right. Our next question, Barbara is wanting to ask out loud. Go ahead, Barbara.
Thanks. I just didn't want to type it out. And this might be a Dawn and Tom question. So Tom, you said several times to make sure that your functionaries were comfortable with Zoom, which I also think is important. In the old days, we would stand up at the end of a contest and ask for judges for previous, for our next contest, or otherwise different ways to gather functionaries. Is there a place where we can just put out like a general call for District 8 functionaries who are comfortable with Zoom? Like, hey, anybody want to be a judge on this date? How would you suggest us going about getting volunteers when we're just never around anybody?
So you're talking more about at the club level?
No, area, division. I mean, just anytime you need to gather judges or whatever. I mean, what have you seen have been good ways to do that?
Well, I think, and Dawn, you can chime in. I think a lot of times at the area and division level, they kind of, there's an email list, and then maybe the area people can ask, they can contact the clubs at the club level and get the word out that way. I mean, we don't have a job board or anything. I don't know if we could, I mean, if there's another thing you could think of, we could do something. I mean, I'm open to it. And one of the ideas is always, if you see something done somewhere else on the web or something, I'd be happy to replicate it.
I'm just curious what other people are doing to make that easier.
I haven't heard. I will put that question out to my PQD Facebook group and see how they are handling it. One of the things that we will do, but it's going to be a little bit close on time probably, is put up a board like that during TLI. That one is already been in the works, but for something sooner, it may come down to having a job board on the website. So we will come up with something and we'll let people know. Please read your emails from the district because they do have important information about things like that in them. No cute cat videos or any of the other things that we all used to email each other. No jokes, all those things we put up in emails before there was Facebook. So we won't use any of those. Regarding the previous question, I did put the TLI survey link in the chat.
And if anybody wants to get the Zoom training, they can sign up that way.
Yes, by filling out your TLI survey. Oh, that's extortion to get the TLI surveys done.
Well, did you require all the questions be filled out? You didn't have to.
Yes. Now I do. I didn't before, but I do now.
You make them all filled out, so then, okay, you get.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Dawn. my computer is starting to slow down. It's not happy.
Uh-oh.
I did see a comment from, come on, work with me, Chris Mitchell, commenting on if you do have a green screen, don't wear a green shirt. That would also apply with a blue screen and a blue shirt, white screen, white shirt, black screen, black shirt.
Okay, and I'll ask Rebecca Jordan says maybe she could comment on this. Latest version of Zoom doesn't require the green screen if your computer wouldn't do virtual backgrounds before.
Yeah, I just noticed on my work Zoom, and also when I opened up this one and went into it, if you go to the virtual backgrounds, the first time I tried to add a virtual background, it said, you don't need a green screen anymore. Download the smart virtual background kit. And when I did, now I'm adding virtual backgrounds and it doesn't seem to choke. Let me try one out here.
I just bought my green screen.
Yeah, whereas before it required it. Oh, if I take the sticky note off my camera. But yeah, so I don't have a green screen. I'm not running Chroma Cam and it works now. So I would suggest checking that out if you had problems where your computer told you before you couldn't use a green screen.
Okay, but also, I think the headset's a little flashing a little bit.
Yeah, it always does. It does on everything. Also, if you are into that kind of stuff and want to have a little fun, new with the newest version of Zoom are video filters, which lets you do some cool things like put on different hats, put different colored fades on your backgrounds and things like that. There's also something called studio effects. And I do want to kind of give a point out on that one. On the studio effects, it allows you to do things like change your eyebrows, put on lipstick. It kind of lets you kind of fool around with your image, but be aware at the top of that, there is a little check mark that says apply these settings to all future Zoom meetings. We had some folks in one of our business meetings at work get stuck with lipstick on and couldn't get it off. So if you're going to play around with those studio effects, make sure you uncheck that apply to all future meetings.
Right.
Thanks, Tom.
Yeah, I wouldn't use this necessarily for contests, but whatever. Doesn't do anything for me.
Can you see well with those new glasses?
Well, the funny thing is you can actually see through my eyes. See, that's kind of wild. It's not just, doesn't cover them up. It's kind of wild. Anyway. All right. Next question.
Our next question is from Elka Price. In the evaluation contest after the 5 minutes to conduct the evaluation, how do you handle that? Normally, the sheets are given to the SGR.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I can think of is that they would have to set it up where there's a sergeant at arms in the room and they looks like they can't be writing or doing anything that looks like they're preparing the speech. I mean, that's the only thing. I don't know any way to do it unless somebody else has an idea, because you can't. I'll send you a copy, but you keep your own. I mean, and I guess we haven't done an evaluation in a virtual environment yet, so we haven't had that issue. But I would think that when we get closer, I don't know. That's right. Some people may still be doing that. Dawn, have you heard anything about that at your level?
I haven't heard anything about evaluation. I've heard some other contests being held, but I haven't heard evaluation. And I think we talked about that too. How would you enforce that hand me your notes rule? So it may be something that they roll out in terms of specific ways to handle that, but I haven't seen it.
Right, because then the person going last definitely has a definite advantage, unfortunately.
Yeah, when I was researching the chief judge on that, different clubs or different areas handle it a different way. Some said, email me your notes. It's just a, token. But other people said the sergeant at arms watches them, and you have to put like your camera on your hands.
Oh.
And sit there while everybody else is speaking, which is kind of creepy, but effective, I guess.
I guess that would work.
Or you could do it like on Law and Order,
It's like
One could do that, one could do that.
I'm a prisoner of Toastmasters.
Well, I think the only way to make sure is what Barbara said. They've got to do this.
That's right.
See no evil.
Oh my gosh.
See no speech notes.
See no speech notes. Boom, boom.
Nice.
All right, let's move on, Darren.
Our next question is from Mike Rohan. Any thoughts on doing a joint contest with another club if you don't have many members in your club?
Okay, that's a great question. Actually, we've done that before, where you share a lot of functionaries like judges and sergeant at arms, and yes, in fact, and it's probably even easier to do nowadays with virtual because you don't have that distance issue. So there is no problem with doing it. It's just coordinating of it, and you just have to make sure you're tracking, which speech is for what club. But yes, recommend it. Good to do it.
TI's rule is you have to announce the winners of one contest before you begin the next. So you do separate out your contestants from one club or one area to the other. So everyone gives their speech, the results are given, and then you can have everyone else give their speech and then go on. That was the only information, the only help, and the only rule I got when I contacted TLI about it.
Okay.
Not to be a contrarian, but were they able to, that's not in the rules, is that buried somewhere in the governing documents?
Art, I had you in mind when I asked them, and I gave that answer, and I said, now we have this guy and he's gonna ask. And I was thinking of you, and the representative at Toastmasters said, I don't know where to find it. I do know it's the rule, but since you warned me about that guy, I'm going to ask my supervisor.
You are infamous, Art.
Well, give me that person's name and I'll tell him, I'll approach him as that guy.
I'm the guy.
I'm that guy that you were warned about.
Darren, back to
So
you.
our next comment is that Chris Mitchell has completed his survey, and obviously I'm going to say thank you because I do reward positively when people do what we ask them to.
Right.
At this time, we don't have any additional questions if my computer is still functioning. So I will gladly open it up to anyone that has a burning question that they want to personally say themselves.
Okay, well, if not, then I want to thank everyone who participated today. Tom, thank you so much for taking on this topic. It's one of the thornier ones because it's new to all of us. The other topics we're a little bit familiar with, and this one, it's the tech. So thank you so much for being willing to take that on and doing it so well. Thank you to all of our presenters. We've been flashing a thank you that lists our presenters and lists all of our Zoom masters who have been seamlessly coming in and out and taking over the roles. I appreciate it so much. Thank you to Art for keeping us all honest. Thank you to Kevin, who has had to leave for a personal event, but for doing such a fabulous job as our MC.
Yes.
And thanks to Tom, who not only did a presentation, but was pretty much chief of the Zoom Masters and also did so much work in putting this together beforehand. It couldn't have happened without him. It couldn't have happened without any of them. So thank you to our presenters, Barbara and Kat and Brad and Art, and to Darren, who's not here to hear me say thank you, and to Mark Brown, who's not here to hear me say thank you, but we appreciate all of that so much. And to everyone who worked hard and gave us their time today, I appreciate it very much.
Thank you, Dawn, for doing all the work to organize.
It wasn't so bad because I knew I could count on everyone who said they would help. And so I appreciate that you all came through. Makes you a little bit nervous to have a big thing out there in the world for people to come to, and you just have to cross your fingers. But I knew I had people who were going to come through, and that made it that much better and that much easier.
Thanks for putting this all together, Dawn.
You are welcome. I do want to point out one correction to one of the slides that we have had today on how to host hybrid happenings. That Lunch and Learn is November 18th. The date on it is incorrect. So if you're interested in that and how to set up hybrid meetings or a hybrid open house, the date on that is actually November 18th. And the way the timing will work is that you can tune in about 11:15 and see the setup. And then at noon, Gem City Toastmasters will hold their meeting, and you can see how that setup worked through the meeting. But you may not be able to get there at 11:15 for the setup. And so if you can get there a little bit later, you can watch a part of the meeting, and then you can watch the tear down of that meeting, which probably won't take 45 minutes, but all of the explanation then of what was working and what you saw. If you didn't get to see the setup, it'll all be explained to you with the teardown. And then you can see what kind of equipment and how it's placed and all of that in regard to a hybrid meeting. So I apologize for the date being incorrect. It will be November 18th. And the timing is a little bit hard to just put in a slide and explain to you. But don't forget that. Don't forget that Annetta Works Sally is going to have a presentation where she is going to take everyone by the virtual hand and lead them through setting up a meetup account for your club that is connected to the District 8 meetup account. So it will cost your club nothing, and you can set up your meetings and events on that for next year. So be sure to take part in that on December 5th. Well, if that's it, then thank you all for coming. I hope it was very helpful for you, and we appreciate your kind attendance. It's been a long day. Go out and enjoy your afternoon.
Hi, this is Larry Miller. Can I ask a quick question or make a comment real quick?
Sure.
I commented earlier that I found out last week I'm going to be chairman for an American Legion High School oratorical contest. And one of the things I'm thinking of, I just joined Toastmasters again this month after a 23-year absence. It's been a while. I just wanted to get
Welcome back.
Thank you very much. I've been wanting to get back for a while, and I finally pulled the trigger. Anyway, I was kind of thinking that I need some judges, and I'd like to wonder if there's about 3 Toastmasters in the Illinois area that might be interested in judging a high school oratorical contest. I can send you the judges score sheet. It's a little bit different than the Toastmasters contest score sheet, but anybody would like to be interested, who is interested in doing that, please let me know. I can put an email address down in the chat box if you like.
When is it?
It'll be next January.
Is it going to be in person?
I can't answer that at this point. It's the way things go in Illinois. I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow or next week anyway. So I'd like to have it in person. We have to be cautious of the high school students and their health and so forth. And in fact, all the participants' health. If anybody's interested, like I said, I'll put my email address down here, and you could please contact me. I was going to ask I'm Scott Toastmasters. I was going to ask some of the Scott Toastmasters if they would like to do it, but I thought I'd throw it open to anyone here on the training session. So thank you very much for the opportunity to ask you that.
Thanks, Larry. Welcome back and good luck with the contest.
Thank you very much. And I just put a new microphone up here. Is it working all right?
Very
Sounds
good.
great.
Good. Thank you very much. The iMac microphone was too bassy for me, so I don't know if this one's better or not. Thank you.
You are welcome.